Okay, Terry.
Good evening and welcome to this special school board election forum featuring candidates for the Santa Barbara Unified and Goleta Union Boards of Education. I'm Terry Jory, Director of the Resource Santa Barbara, a media organization that shines a light on issues in our community. The Resource is co-sponsoring this event with Alice Post, who's with the Coalition for Neighborhood Schools, and Jacqueline Inda of the Santa Barbara Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Would you like to say a few words, Alice?
Yes, I have a little thing to say. The essence of Coalition for Neighborhood Schools is to support ordinary parents. Parents have so many options: homeschooling, private school, charter schools, and that's great. But at CNS, we believe that the very best option for the vast majority of children is a neighborhood school when it is done properly. Parents from all walks of life really just want a good school in their neighborhood. But look around, the schools aren't there. And we are working hard to change that. Our top priority, rebuild the historical Lincoln Elementary School in the downtown area. It is very easy to tear down and destroy, as our district did in the 70s, when it tore down Lincoln Elementary School and sold 4 elementary schools in the center of town. Much more difficult to build. Someday soon, every parent in Santa Barbara will have the choice to walk their child to school, a good school, in their own neighborhood. And our job will be done. This is our fight. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Jacqueline Inda, would you like to say a few words about the Santa Barbara Hispanic Chamber of Commerce?
Welcome, everybody. My name is Jacqueline. I am here representing the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Foundation in Santa Barbara. And I'm here to, of course, talk about education and how important education is to our community. From our business owner perspective to getting hands-on experience and practice for our youth to go into different fields. And of course, to ensuring and protecting the safety of our children as they're going through our school districts. Our children spend 50% of their time within the school district boundaries during their time, and the other half they spend in our community. So we always look to partnerships between our schools and our communities so that our children have a better way of accessing education and become leaders in this community. That may be in a business format and it may be industry. In all different formats, we hope that when we are talking about our children and our families and our neighborhoods, that we keep a lens on safety, on education, and of course, providing our families, our children, the resources to be able to be successful in any walks of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. I want to thank our sponsors, much gratitude, along with the Santa Barbara Colleges of Law School, which has been so generous in helping us produce this event. I'd also like to thank all of our candidates for taking the time from their busy schedules to participate, and thank all of you for watching to help you make informed decisions in the November 8th election. We have a lot to cover in the next 90 minutes, so let me now shine a light on our co-moderator, Lanny Ebenstein.
Thank you, Terry. Here's the format for the forum. And I should first note that this is, if not the first forum that together has the Santa Barbara Unified School District and the Goleta Union School District Board of Education candidates. It's the first one in many years. So we look forward to that aspect of it. We will start the program with an introduction of a 1-minute opening statement from each of the candidates for the 2 contested seats for the Santa Barbara Unified Board, the 2 contested seats for the Goleta Board, and 1 Goleta candidate running unopposed. After that, my co-moderator, Jerry Roberts, and I will ask the candidates in the contested races 2 rounds of questions, rotating the groups of candidates for each question. The first round will be questions from the sponsors and the moderators, which we have provided to the candidates in advance. In addition to these questions, we also invite members of the audience to send questions to Jerry and myself during the forum via the participant chat function on Zoom, and we will select some of these to pose to the candidates. And I should note too that the chat function is only visible to the moderators. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer a question. Jerry will hold up his hand to signal the candidate has 10 seconds left, and we ask all the candidates to be courteous and mindful of our time constraints. If a candidate mentions another candidate in his or her answer, then the candidate mentioned will have 30 seconds to respond. With that, let me introduce Jerry of Newsmakers with jerryroberts.com, who will introduce the candidates for opening statements. Jerry.
Thanks, Lanny. Not sure what's happening with our view here, Terry. I'm going to introduce and identify our candidates in alphabetical order by district with the short descriptor they've chosen for themselves that appears on the ballot. And we start with Goleta Trustee Area 1 and school teacher Carolyn Abate. Carolyn, you have 1 minute. Unmute yourself, Carolyn.
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Okay.
So first, I would like to thank the organizers for putting on this forum and also to thank the audience for taking of their time this evening to attend. My name is Caroline Abate. I am running for the Goleta Union School District, Trustee Area Number 1. As you mark your ballot, it is as if your hands are on a car steering wheel, because with your vote, you are deciding what path our country will take in the future. Your decision will affect the approximately 3,381 students in the Goleta Union School District. Our schools need to return back to their original purpose, which is to educate students in the important academic subjects. Proficiency test scores show that district-wide, 40% are not meeting grade level proficiency standards in math, and 35% are not meeting proficiency standards in English language arts and literacy. Our schools need to change. My name is Caroline Abate, and I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carolyn. And thank you for that crisp 1 minute. You really got right in there. Very good. Okay, and now her opponent, incumbent Richard Mayer.
Hello, everyone. My name is Richard Mayer. I'm running for re-election to the Board of Trustees of the Goleta Union School District. My focus as a school board member is on ensuring a high-quality education for every child in the district. My priorities continue to be to provide low class size, a rich curriculum with high standards at every school, and welcoming and safe neighborhood schools. Some other accomplishments and goals include providing after-school programs at every campus, providing psychologists and social emotional learning at every school, providing extra support for students in need, establishing a dual language immersion program, and serving on our district's task force on social justice and equity. I am running for re-election because I care about children and I see children as our community's most precious resource. I am a product of public education from kindergarten through graduate school, and I appreciate your support.
Thank you, Richard. Again, okay, so those are the two candidates in Goleta Trustee Area 1, Richard and Caroline, and now we move to Goleta Trustee Area 3. Businessman Bert Haley is not with us, but we do have a teacher, Christy Lozano. Christy?
I would like to thank the Coalition for Neighborhood Schools, Santa Barbara Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the Resource Santa Barbara. I'd like to thank the host, Jerry Roberts and Lanny Ebestein, and the public for attending this forum. I am running for Goleta Union School District Trustee Area 3. My background, I'm a United States Air Force veteran. I'm a veteran teacher of 18 years. I'm a parent of a former Goleta Union School District student. I was a parent volunteer in the Goleta Union School District, and I was the vice president of the PTA for Goleta Union School District. I have a unique perspective of the positives happening in the district and the things that we need to work on together. As a teacher, I have taught all grade levels, and my favorite level is elementary school. At the elementary school level, we lay a solid foundation for kids, and it's the most formative years of a child's
They can't hear us.
life. And
I
so
just blurred my
that's what I'd
background.
like-
Should I just do no background and we can just listen to them?
thank you.
Moni, you need to mute yourself. I'm sorry.
Oh, so sorry.
That's okay. So
Christy,
elementary
go ahead,
school,
take 10 more seconds.
okay, elementary school is where I think is the most formative years and where I would like to do my work as a school board candidate.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy, and we apologize for that interruption. Okay, the next candidate in Goleta trustee area number 3 is teacher Emily Zacharias. Emily?
Emily Zacharias. Thanks so much, Jerry. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I'm running for the school district because not only am I a special education teacher and a mom, and I have a master's degree in psychology from UCSB, I'm also endorsed by the Goleta Teachers Union, the Independent, several Goleta City Council members, the mayor of Goleta, and Santa Barbara Unified School District board members. So I'm a collaborator. I like to work as a team. Some of the issues I'd like to tackle as a board member, if I am elected, are mental health and well-being of our students. It's so important to teach these social emotional skills, especially coming after the pandemic, where my own daughter really struggled and suffered with some anxiety and learning loss. Inclusion of all students. I am a special education teacher, so this is an issue that is so passionate for me and so important, something that is really meaningful to make sure we're including students of all abilities and all races, and as well as the rigorous academic instruction to make sure that we're using evidence-based curriculum. And I trust our teachers to be implementing this with fidelity.
All right. Thank you, Emily. Okay, we're going to hear now from Ethan Bertrand, who is running unopposed in Goleta trustee area 5. So that'll be the last Goleta board person. And we're going to give Ethan 2 minutes because we're not going to be hearing from him for the rest of the evening. He's lucky he's unopposed and he does not appear on the ballot. Ethan, you're the luckiest man in the world. Go ahead.
I feel that luck tonight, Jerry. Thank you, Jerry, Lanny, Terry, and everyone for organizing tonight's debate. I'm Ethan Bertrand. I am proud and grateful to have the opportunity to represent Isla Vista and the Gaviota Coast on the Goleta School Board. I embarked on this journey after reflecting on the ways that I benefited from supportive teachers and school counselors while growing up. I believe that every child deserves to feel that they belong, that they are included, and that they are safe at school. On the school board, I will be a strong advocate for students of color, for English language learners, for students with learning disabilities, and for our LGBTQ students and families, along with all other students who have been pushed aside or marginalized at times. We need to be intentional about serving these students as we work to close achievement gaps. As a gay person of color, I have to say, the Don't Say Gay and anti-equity policies that are being promoted by some of my fellow school board candidates are not only incredibly mean, but they are also harmful to children, to young people, and to families. But I know that here in Goleta, we can and we will do better. I'm committed to supporting the health and wellness of our youth and families. We need to make sure that students' basic needs are met so that they can be successful in the classroom and so that they can have a bright future. I'm very supportive of social emotional learning and am committed to paying greater attention to mental health of our students as well. Finally, I believe that we must invest in our educators and school staff members, provide them with the resources and tools that they need to help our kids, but also that we uphold our end of the bargain by providing our employees with the pay and benefits that enable them to live in our community. I'm proud to be endorsed by the Goleta Teachers Union, the Democratic Party, many local leaders, and I look forward to working with all community members to provide the best educational opportunity to our local kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan, and thanks to all of our Goleta candidates for coming in on time. Now we'll see how we do with the Santa Barbara Unified candidates. First, there's an open seat in trustee area 1. And our first candidate there is retired educator Efgenia Banalis. Effie? Unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be before you. I'm Efigenia Bañales. I have worked for the Santa Barbara Unified School District over 28 years in various capacities. I work as a school secretary. I serve the students, the parents, our community, our teachers. I work as an instruction assistant for the last 12 years of my 18 years in service. I am very proud to be an immigrant. I speak English and Spanish. Actually, Spanish is my first language, English my third. I've been in the community for 37 years. And I know my community, and especially the Lower East Side. I've been involved in the community, helping kids all the time and parents. I know I have the experience and awareness needed to become a board member of the Santa Barbara Unified School District. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And our next candidate is student affairs professional Gabe Escobedo. Gabe?
Thank you, and thank you for this forum. My name is Gabe Escobedo, and I'm running for Santa Barbara Unified Trustee Area 1. This is an important election for our school board and for this district in particular. This district is our first and only majority-minority district. It contains both the east side and west side of Santa Barbara. I'm running for this office because I understand the challenges that so many of these students and families are facing. I know what it's like to not feel like school is for you, and had it not been for having the right people at the right time there for me, I would not be sitting here in front of you. Quite frankly, I was lucky. But our students' future should not rely on luck. My goal is to work towards a unified school district where every student walks into their class with a sense of belonging and all the resources and support they need to be successful in our schools and far beyond. I spent my career in higher education, and I've been a dedicated public servant on the Planning Commission and Community Formation Commission. I know how to build consensus, and I have a proven track record of making meaningful change. And that's why I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabe. And our third candidate in Santa Barbara Unified Trustee Area 1 is Executive Director Parent Dan LaBerge. Dan?
Good evening, Jerry and Lanny. Thank you so much for putting on this forum. I, as mentioned, am a parent of 3 unified school district children, both in the junior high and Adelante Charter School, a dual language immersion school that we highly support and are in favor of, not only for the cognitive value of learning, but also because of the bicultural and multicultural experience our children and our family have enjoyed. I'm a resident of Santa Barbara for over 50 years. My family lives and resides in the house my wife's great-grandfather built in the 30s on the east side. And we give back to our community in many ways, most meaningfully with Mother's Helpers, a nonprofit that my wife and I run together. Been doing it for 13 years, helping the most vulnerable families in our community. That being of mothers often raising children on their own. As soon as our children entered the school district, I jumped into the school board, and I have served dutifully on the school board, PTSOs, and site council. I am a very committed and passionate leader in our community and hope to do so on the school board. And I look forward to receiving your vote. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, again, that was the 3 candidates, Effie and Gabe and Dan, and they're all running in Trustee Area 1. And finally, we have 2 candidates in Santa Barbara Unified Trustee Area 4, business owner notary Phoebe Mansour. Phoebe?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm so honored that you've hosted this and for everybody watching. And I'm pleased to share that I have been endorsed by the Union Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union and also the Deputy Sheriff's Association. As a small business owner, welcome behind the scenes of my print shop. I have a unique perspective because almost 50% of the workforce is employed by small businesses like myself. So for those students who don't go to college, they're going to be working for someone like me. And the statistics from school shows that students are struggling with math and reading literacy. And we need to make sure that they're set up for success. So they need to have their toolbox needs to be filled with valuable tools that are going to help them succeed, career technical training. And as a school board member, I'm going to make sure that happens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, the incumbent in this trustee area 4, Santa Barbara Unified Governing Board member, Rose Munoz. Rose?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for this forum. I appreciate everyone's participation and for hosting this. I do have the support of the Santa Barbara Teachers Association, and I'm also very supportive of the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and all that they do in this community. I was born and raised here in Santa Barbara. My 2 daughters attended the public schools here, and I got involved at that time. And although they're grown, I'm still very active on the east side and the west side. As an activist, I have a master's in social work. And in my 4 years on the school board, I have seen how it is possible to have good communication with the community and also be available to them. I'm currently the school board president. I believe in inclusivity versus exclusivity and the access to learning, mental health support for all of our students, and support for our teaching and school staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Okay, well, thank you all for the opening statements. And now I'm going to turn it back to Lanny to start the question.
Okay, we have several preset questions that the candidates have been informed of in advance, and then we'll also have questions from the audience, and you can send those to Jerry and myself by chat. And the questions were also suggested by the sponsors of the forum tonight. So our first question is for all candidates from both districts, and we're going to start this time with the candidates in the Santa Barbara district, and then we'll go to the candidates from the Goleta district. And this is a question from the Coalition for Neighborhood Schools. Increasing the number of neighborhood schools in local school districts is a long-time issue in our community. Do you support neighborhood schools, and what are the benefits of neighborhood schools? Our first response will be from Ephigenia Banales, District 1, Santa Barbara Unified School District. Ephigenia.
Yes, I do fully support the neighborhood schools. We did have someone mentioned the Lincoln School in Western downtown Santa Barbara, which is across the street from the school district. Now, we used to have also the Santa Barbara Community Academy there, and then it was moved to the west side. So if you have a neighborhood school you can walk, it would be beneficial for instance, it would be beneficial for the parents. We can have centers in every neighborhood school. It will give them time, the kids, to interact with the neighbor friends, and the parents will have more time to spend with the kids. It is very crucial for us to have neighborhood schools. Currently, there's some students that were enrolled first at the academy, they moved to the west side, and they have to take the bus. I know what it's like to take the bus because it takes a long time. You have to go take line 1, get off on State Street, run and get the other line, and it takes a long time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Gabe Escobedo.
So philosophically, I'm very supportive of neighborhood schools, but as someone who wants to represent you on the school board, I also need to be honest in that logistically, it's very tough. We have in this state, and our school district is no exception, dropping enrollment. And with a decrease of enrollment, it becomes very difficult to find enough students in these neighborhoods for these schools to support these schools. In addition, the school district has spent a lot of attention in making sure that enrollment in all of our schools is as diverse racially and socioeconomically. And so that also needs to be taken into consideration when we're discussing these neighborhood schools and expansion. But like I said, philosophically, I'm very supportive. So it's nothing that's off the table, and we should keep it in mind as we look in the future to redrawing our districts to make sure that they still have the diversity that we want in our schools. But it is logistically challenging, and we should be honest about that.
And the next candidate from District 1, Dan LaBerge.
Thank you so much. I would be completely hypocritical if I said that I wasn't in favor of it, because I get the very distinct pleasure of walking my kids to school every single day and picking them up there. It is a cherished ritual and one that I, wish every parent could enjoy. The practicality of that as our sprawl extends, and I would echo exactly what Gabe said, some of our schools have dropping enrollment. We have some schools with less than 300 children enrolled. We have more than that at our charter school. To open up additional campuses that require not only teachers, but staff, as well as enough to fill classroom sizes, isn't currently practical in most of our campuses. With the exception of Franklin, we're currently looking at a deficiency in population, not an excess that justifies additional campuses. Thank you.
Okay, and now District 4 in the Santa Barbara District, Phoebe Mansour.
So I was blessed to be able to grow up 3 blocks from my elementary school. And when they closed my school, it was heartbreaking. There's, and you develop an attachment when you grow up near your school. And I think it's something similar to the broken windows theory. When you have people engaged in your community, when people know each other, I think there's a corresponding decrease in crime. But as with my potential board member hat on, you have to look at the numbers. And to answer that question, while I'm in favor of that, I would need to look at all of the data, how the financing would work. But definitely I would be in support of that.
Very good. And then Rose Munoz.
I think just in my experiences that the needs of the students vary, as well as the parents. There are parents that commute to Santa Barbara because they aren't able to afford living here. And they request transfers into our school district. So it really depends. On top of that, we also have issues with, especially junior high and high school, but also grade school, with bullying, with a school environment that isn't conducive to that student. And many times we have a request for a transfer to another school. So I think it all needs to be taken into account. The needs of each child can differ very much. And also the diversity, we all learn from each other. I'm very much in favor of diversity and having exposure to other children, children that are other than, that have varied cultures and languages. So I think that one's a hard one to just say that it's such a way. Thank you.
Goleta District number 1, Carolyn Abate.
That's an excellent question about neighborhood schools, and there are a lot of advantages to having your school very close by. It does foster a sense of community, and it's important for the children to that go to school together to also be able to be near each other for after school activities or the activities on weekends, and to continue the friendships that they have and the bonds they formed while they're in school as well. So it is a very important part of building a sense of community. Also, as a school teacher, from a practical perspective, oftentimes, a parent is called, your child is sick, they need to go home, or they forgot their lunch or their homework, or so being nearby serves a very practical benefit in that way. When the school has activities, a school play or a school, some activity, that open house night or open school night for parents, the parents are closer by, so they're able to attend easier. Thank you.
Rich Mayer.
Well, I strongly support neighborhood schools. This has been a theme of my activity on the Goleta School Board for many years. I want our schools to be welcoming to all students and families. And I'm very focused on equity among all the schools in terms of facilities and programs so that we have a high quality education at each school. I think that having neighborhood schools fosters a sense of belonging and involvement of both the students and the families. So this is another reason I think it's important. And we've worked very hard in Goleta to build a sense of community in our schools, and including having community liaisons who are social workers who link families with the school, and having after-school programs at every school site.
Goleta District 3, Christy Lozano.
Yes, I support neighborhood schools. There are so many benefits to a neighborhood school. It creates a huge sense of community for children, the health benefits of walking to school, the ability to build community with other families. Neighborhood schools keep kids safer because the neighborhood watches out for the kids. Busing kids does not allow them to play with other students. Children can find their identity in neighborhood schools because they become an extension of family values. Is the fact that we have lost neighborhood schools part of the demise of our education system? I don't know. This would be a step in the right direction and would probably help stop the dropping enrollment because of all the positives that come with neighborhood schools. This might make schools so attractive that enrollment would grow. When we did Walk to School Day at McKinley was a neighborhood school. I would get 150 kids meeting me at the local market, and we all would walk to school together, and it fostered a beautiful sense of community.
Final candidate from Goleta District 3, Emily Zacharias.
Thank you. Of course, I agree with neighborhood schools. That's it's so important. My daughter, I love walking to school with her. She goes to Kellogg, and I have another 3-year-old on the way. So next year she'll be attending. And I think it is so important. And to echo what everyone said about to increase neighborhood cohesiveness and community, and also just to agree with what Christy said about the health benefits of exercise and walking. Physical activity, increasing your physical activity before you learn has actually been shown and proven in research to improve your alertness and motivation and attention. And I think that's really something to consider when when kids get to school and they've gotten a little bit of exercise and their brains are just, their mindset is open for learning. And so we have to consider that as well. But along with what everyone else said, also Caroline mentioned that parents are more likely to, volunteer in their kids' classroom if they live close by. They're more likely to do so and creating that connection with their child's class and teacher. Thank you.
Okay.
Next question.
The next question is, okay, yeah, and where are we starting on this one, Danny?
This one's would be then with Goleta.
Okay, we'll start with Goleta number 1. And this question comes from the Santa Barbara Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Both the Goleta Union School District and Santa Barbara Unified have passed resolutions on safe storage of firearms. What are the next steps to implement these resolutions with programs, and what would you do to achieve that? So Carolyn, we'll start with you.
Okay, so I actually had to look up the resolution for the safe storage of firearms requires someone who owns a gun to store the gun in a locked container or disable it with a trigger lock. So the question is asking, what would be the next steps to implement something like, implement this resolution, which means you would have to enforce the gun in a locked container or disabled I'm assuming in someone's house. So, this is a little bit difficult question to answer in only 1 minute, but speaking in general terms, there's constitutional rights to bear arms, of course, and that needs to be protected and maintained. The right to privacy in your own home, is someone going to come in? These things, there's constitutional issues related with that. and enforcement issues. So it's a complicated question, but I do have to say that when it comes to firearm safety, one of the most important things that we can do is teach people to respect human life and be very careful with that aspect. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Richard?
Thank you. I supported Goleta's resolution on safe storage of firearms, mainly because I think student safety is a top priority. I also support notifying parents of the resolution and on providing instruction on how to safely store firearms at home. For me, school safety is a central issue that I'll continue to focus on if I'm reelected. Thank you.
All right. And then in Goleta area number 3, Christy Lozano.
Yes, making schools safe is important. The next steps to this resolution would include community outreach to find out what parents and community members think is necessary to improve the safe storage of firearms. I would love to talk about this topic. I was trained as a young girl by my father how to handle a firearm. I was also trained by the United States Air Force how to use a gun safely. I would love to be involved in discussing gun safety and helping people better understand the importance of storing firearms. I recently went through a training with the police department in elementary school, and they did an amazing training for teachers and staff. And I think every teacher and staff should go through the police department training so that we can make our schools a safer place.
Thank you. And Emily.
Yeah. So yeah, kudos to Santa Barbara Unified and Goleta Unified for taking this huge step forward to acknowledge that we need to keep our kids safe from weapons. And also just to note that the city of Goleta recently passed an ordinance for the safe storage of firearms. So there's a huge opportunity to collaborate with the city of Goleta and the Santa Barbara Unified School District on this issue. I'm actually a gun sense candidate, which means I'm endorsed by the Every Town for Gun Safety. And I'm also involved with Moms Demand Action. And so a lot of people might not know, but Moms Demand Action will actually come and do parent trainings and workshops and educate parents as far as gun safety and just facts about guns. It's called the Be Smart campaign. You can look it up. And if any schools would like to, with the PTA, get involved with this, you can contact me. It's a great campaign. So yeah, the next step is vote for me. I'll be your champion for the safety of your kids.
All right, very good. Thank you. And now we'll switch the order in Santa Barbara trustee area number 1. Let's start this time with Dan LaBerge. Dan?
Thank you so much. Gun safety is something that is paramount. My 13-year-old is dealing with anxiety and trauma, afraid to go to school, not only from fear of incidents with gun violence, but also from bullying and other racial uprisings. And it's something that we can't rationalize. We can't just make go away. These steps are the first step in the right direction, and we can't underestimate educating our children to then educate their families. I was raised by a single mother who was a smoker when I was young, and I brought home the ethic of, yeah, that's killing you, and it's killing me too. She stopped. Now, not every child can have that influence over their parents, but they can make a difference. As we continue to spread the word of the necessity to have reasonable and sensible gun regulations, we can hopefully curb or maybe even start to eliminate the unnecessary violence that our children are threatened with every day. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gabe Escobedo?
Yeah, well, this resolution is a good first step, but it's just the first step. The next step is absolutely public outreach and educating parents on what the best practice are for safe gun storage, but then also what resources are out there, because not everyone can afford a gun safe. And so we need to be connecting with organizations that have access to funding to getting these gun safes to families so that they can safely store their guns. The next step is partnering with organizations that already have the relationships with the communities that we're trying to reach. There are plenty of amazing organizations and people in our community that already have those relationships. They are the best messenger for this particular movement. And third is trying to get pledges. So we're never going to go into someone's home and enforce these, but we need to get people on board. And one of the ways that we can do it is getting parents to pledge that they're going to store their guns safely. And it's good for the rest of our community as well.
All right, thank you. And finally, in trustee area 1, F. Gina Benalis, Effie.
Sorry, my microphone. Yes, I believe that the experts to train and educate our parents and our community in general are the offices. We'd go to the source directly with the police department and other institutions so they can come to our schools and educate our parents. There was one particular school in which one officer will come and talk to the parents, and then we'll tell them about the gun safety and how to keep them in a place that would be safe in a far away and of reach of children. So if we teach our parents at the same time will reach our kids. It is good the administration is raising the awareness of the safe storage of firearms, and that would be the first step. Educate, outreach, and bring the experts to give us the safety laws and the safety measures that we need to take in order to keep our children and our community in general safe. We need safety.
Thank you. And we'll change the order in Santa Barbara trustee area 4. Rose Munoz, you're first this time.
I am very supportive of this. There are curriculums out there that are age appropriate for the children, for the students, and also for the parents. A collaboration between the schools, law enforcement, and the community is very much a benefit. There's an annual gun collection that's done, and a lot of the conversations start there. There's a See Something, Say Something campaign that I've certainly talked about before with Miss Inda, and the kids, they know who has guns out there. There are many guns in our community. And in terms of affordability, there's also gun locks that folks can use in their home just to keep those guns safe. I helped sponsor a National Social Work Forum on Safety here in Santa Barbara. And it included partners, such as mental health, our school safety officer, and Fran Wagenek at the time. During the forum, we actually had an incident on McKinley where there was a suspect of someone with an arm at the campus. So yeah, very important. I'm all in.
All right, thank you, Rose. And last word on this, can PB amend?
Don't worry, I'm on mute.
Sure.
So securing your firearm is a state law, California, first of all. And so anybody who has a legal firearm should already know that you're required by law to secure your firearm. I would advocate to make sure that there's a on-site resource officer at every school. And I would also like to see self-defense training, maybe during the PE time. You can start as early as age 5, but I think that having self-defense training builds self-esteem, self-confidence. There's a lot of benefits, and it would just be another good tool for another good skill in the toolbox for the children.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, and we also have questions that are just for the candidate from one district or another, depending on the issue. So this is a question that is directed to just the candidates from the Goleta Union School District. Taking Jerry's lead, we're going to reverse the order of the candidates and their responses. And so this is the question for the candidates for the Goleta Union School District Board. There has been discussion about establishing a joint use agreement between the City of Goleta and the Goleta Union School District as authorized by the Education Code to allow greater cooperation on facilities and programs. Do you support a joint use agreement between the City of Goleta and the Goleta Union School District? Our first response will be from Goleta candidate in District Number 1, Rich Mayer.
Thank you. I certainly support cooperation agreements with the city of Goleta. I think we have a long history of working with the city on issues of mutual interest, including the Butterfly Preserve property, which used to be a school site and now is a park, and also, of course, the community center. I think school grounds often serve as community parks in Goleta, since we don't have a lot of parks. So it would be very advantageous to work out a cooperative agreement with the city on joint use issues. As I said, we've developed an excellent relationship with the mayor and the council and the staff of Goleta. And in particular, we have appreciated in the past the city's support of crossing guards. So I would really like to see this continue, and I'd like to see us make the best use of our grounds.
Carolyn Abate.
So I don't really know enough about what this entails to say whether I would support it definitely or definitely not. But in general terms, I have a lot of questions, and I think that schools need to remain separate, more separate entities from the city. So I'd like to just see the school serving its purpose as a school to provide academic instruction to the students. And there are a lot of really problematic issues in our schools. And I would need to know what exact programs and facilities would be shared, what would be the nature of these programs, what would be the content of the programs the students are doing, when they are at these facilities. So a lot of questions that I would like to have answered before I would agree to it. But in general, I think it's best for schools to stay focused on academics. And, this residents of the city of Goleta have access to the city's facilities. Thank you.
Goleta District 3, Emily Zacharias.
Thank you. Yes, I absolutely agree with the joint use agreement, and I'm surprised it hasn't been enacted already. There's so much potential for collaborating with the city of Goleta, and it's just, ripe for prospects with Goleta School District. People might not remember that the Goleta Community Center was a school, and its property is still owned by GUSD. The adjacent property is used for housing the school buses, but by 2030, all school buses have to go electric, and that's a state mandate. So we're going to have to figure out how to retrofit that or get another piece of land to figure out what to do about that. And that's something we're going to need to be really in touch with the city about. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, even if there's, excuse me, sorry about that. And so also, I mean, just the use of the fields. I mean, if we can cost share with the city to improve our fields, I mean, that would be amazing. And then the soccer matches could happen at the fields, and the basketball courts, they could be fixed up. So yes, I totally agree. Thank you.
Final candidate from District 3, Christy Lozano.
I support a joint use agreement between the city of Goleta and Goleta Union School District. Community cooperation with our schools is vital. In my career, I've worked with so many community programs such as the Coast Safe Route to Schools program, BC Centro, the YMCA, the WIN program at Santa Barbara City College. As many of you know, I tried to set up a learning center with the Boys and Girls Club to offer alternatives to low-income Hispanic families. And as we all know, we need diverse options to make sure everyone has the access they need to receive a good, solid education. The Boys and Girls Club was a match made in heaven, and people need more good options for education, not less. It fell apart because we did not have enough community options, and we need more options, and I would support the opportunity. In Santa Barbara Unified, we partnered with the Bicycle Coalition, and it was amazing for the schools that were able to utilize that program, and it enriched the learning environment tremendously.
Good.
Okay. All right, the next question is for Santa Barbara Unified candidates, and we'll start this time with Gabe Escobedo in trustee area 1. As you know, a longstanding issue in the Santa Barbara Unified School District is that some junior highs offer electives that other junior high schools do not. Do you support establishing equity in elective offerings at junior highs?
Yeah, so I spoke a little bit earlier about myself not feeling like school was for me. One of the places that I found that belonging in schools was sport, but that's not everybody's interest. I believe that we need equity in terms of funding and support and resources for electives, but we should meet also the interest of students and parents for our junior highs. I know Santa Barbara Junior High right down the street, they're doing a lot of work to expand their elective offerings. These are offerings through the arts, through wood shop, through a variety of elective topics that really grab hold of the students, keep them interested, make them want to go to school the next day. And I believe that we have some more work to do to expand those offerings, but I don't believe in a one size fits all. I do believe, however, in equity and resources and support. That is important.
Thank you. Evgenia Banales.
About electives all the electives that have been offered in one school should be offered in other schools. I have one example. For example, when my younger son went to La Cumbre Junior High, he wanted to take Latin. And the only school that offered Latin at the junior high level was La Colina. But La Colina was too far away, and I had to drive my children to school, back and from school, and I wasn't all going to be able to take him there. So if we have languages, which again, in the same school, French was not offered, which was offered before, then I believe that we can give the opportunity to everyone, not only Spanish, for example, but French, Latin, and other languages that I needed for the future. Latin is very important. So I think that all I'm sorry. Yeah, they should be offered a variety of classes for everyone. Everyone should have the same opportunity.
Thank you very much. Dan LaBerge.
Yes, thank you. I mean, right in the word, we are a unified district, yet we remain siloed in all our facilities. Very rarely do you see joint effort. And unfortunately, that's the nature of nonprofit organizations. They're underfunded, under-resourced, underemployed. But that shouldn't stop us from sharing resources, whatever they may be. And in this case, allowing schools to create its own form of segregation by having specialized education that the other schools don't really creates a favor that is, just as Evgenia said, she couldn't get her children to that school. That's not fair nor reasonable. It is not equitable. It's not inclusive. We need to increase and expand our opportunity to offer engagement on every level. That's the way to get kids' academic achievement up, is to get them connected with school by whatever means is personally exciting for them. We cannot allow this kind of specialized resource to be limited to one or more campuses. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and in area 4, let's start this time with Phoebe Mansour.
So this is one area that's actually really important to me. In talking with many of my customers who come in who have gone through the school system, a lot of them have said that they didn't have the opportunity when they were in school to explore various paths. So I would be in favor of dual enrollment with City College, expanding that, increasing career technical education. And one issue that I've heard from other people, including one of the candidates tonight, is there may be a class that's offered a dual enrollment at one high school, but the child lives too far away and can't can't get there. So I think there are challenges to be addressed, and it's an opportunity to find a solution.
Thank you. And finally, Rose Munoz. Rose?
Okay, certainly, I'm all about equity, and our students' voices need to be heard. Our student leaders are great about doing surveys within the student body, be it junior high, high school, to see what the interest is. Just yesterday, on Sunday, I believe, was the Santa Barbara Dawn's class reunion. And on that one in the news, they talked about how there was so much interest in soccer that they started a team back, I think 50 years ago or so. So here's something that started with student interest. They found their coaches and so forth. So I think starting with the students, engaging the staff and the resources that we have, and looking at like, what is it that they want? That is the way to address all students, including the at-risk students. We also have outreach staff that's out there. Ismael Huerta and company are a great example of that. And the kids will tell us what they want, what they need in school. So I think that's what we should listen to regarding electives.
Good enough. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, now we have a question, our final preset question for candidates from both districts. And we will start in the Goleta district with District 3. And the question is, as a result of the loss of school time during the coronavirus pandemic, would you support expanding summer school programs? Christy Lozano.
I think we should focus on better programs rather than more programs. We need effective and efficient programs that appeal to kids' learning and have good outcomes. Just doing what's been done is not enough. Franklin Elementary School has a small pod model with support from experienced or retired teachers in the classroom, and that is what we should focus on to recover from the learning loss. What I was planning on putting together with the Boys and Girls Club was something that made the most of our time we would have with the students, not just creating something that requires more time. As Winston Churchill said, however beautiful the strategy, you should occasionally look at the results. We need to look at the outcomes of the programs we are using, and if the outcomes aren't having significantly positive results, then we need to look at different programs that will yield the results that we would like. We also need to look at the people running the programs and make sure they have everything necessary to implement the programs well. If they need more support, then we need to make accommodations for more support.
Emily Zacharias.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, I think that, Santa Barbara Unified did expand their summer program and it was a huge success. So I absolutely agree with the need for more instructional minutes. I mean, we have to make up for the amount of instructional minutes that were lost during the couple years of remote learning of the pandemic. I know, it's not the same. My daughter started kindergarten on Zoom and she missed out on a lot of opportunities for in-person learning and success. So I think absolutely expand it. Let's look into that as for GUSD. I would consider, having it as an opt-out option so that you just offer the program and then parents, if they feel like their kid doesn't need it, they can opt out, but you offer it for everybody. And that sort of helps, with the equity of it and the stigma. I think it's a great thing to be considered. So yes, absolutely.
Goleta District 1, Carolyn Abate.
So of course, I support learning and expanding the summer learning program. It sounds good, but at the same time, we do need to be careful because it would expand taxpayer dollars. So how is that going to be funded and paid for? So we have to be careful there. And we also have to look at what is happening in the classroom to necessitate students needing to be in summer school. Maybe we can improve the classroom environment, classroom discipline and work ethic among students and things like that. So we can avoid the need to have summer school. And also, it's very unfortunate that schools were closed and locked down during the pandemic. And I think, we're seeing some of the problematic issues that happen as a result of that, namely, of course, the learning loss. So that's something to think about too, the root cause of why we need to expand summer school learning programs. So a lot of questions before I would agree to it. And another thing very important is what are the metrics being used to measure the effectiveness of the learning? You know, will students be tested before they would be eligible for this and afterwards? So a lot of questions before I would think something like this would I'd be in favor of.
Thank you.
Goleta District 1, Rich Meyer, Mayor.
Yes, I'm a strong supporter of summer school, and I have been for many years. COVID was a challenge for all of us, and I think Goleta really rose to that challenge. We established an extended learning program, and through that, we offer summer school that runs all day, which is something we heard from our parents that was very important. We also offer after school and before school care for our students. And we target this for our students who are most in need, and it's at no cost. During the pandemic, we hired a lot of new teachers so that we could cut class size down to the low teens. So some of the classes were down to 15-1.
Wow.
So we also hired permanent substitutes at every school so that there would be no problems with having continuous education for our kids. We offered free meals to all families in Goleta. Our food service really ramped up and met that challenge. And I think as a result of all these activities, we actually did not experience much of a learning loss. For our district, it was quite negligible. So,
Wow.
so I certainly support continuing our summer school program.
Santa Barbara District 4, Phoebe Mansour.
I was a terrible student. I was a terrible student in elementary school, junior high school, and college. So I was always in summer school. Do I support extended summer school programs? You know, if I have my hat on as a school board, I have to look at it from a financial standpoint, and I need to look at all of the data and identify where it's going to come from. Look at smart money management. Do we need a new field for the high school, or do we invest it in the summer education, expanded summer education programs? So there's a lot of questions that I would need to know before I would be able to make a decision.
District 4, Rose Munoz.
Thank you. Good question. We have had success. We did have success with the Summer of Learning program, and also had meals available to our students during the summer. The priority was given to the students that were behind academically, the ones that needed to earn more credits so that they could catch up. And the reality is, at this time, COVID continues to be present in our community. So there are students who are missing school at this time. And I'm concerned, of course, you know, at this time about how they're going to be doing in terms of catching up. And of course, the budgetary constraints, you know, they are separate from, we do have COVID money still available for the summer. We do work with our teachers and support staff so that they have financial incentives to help during the summer. And so, yeah, so I see it might be a year or two until the students are well caught up and supported.
Santa Barbara District 1, Ephigenia Banyalis.
I do support summer school. I think the summer school should be a place to have fun, not only learning academics, but the kids that I have noticed that go to the summer school for academics are the Spanish speaking students. And that really concerns me, because that means that the district is not serving them. That's one thing. Another thing, during the pandemic, the district office or the district had the opportunity to opt for applying for a waiver and have our schools open. There were other schools that were open, Laguna Blanca, Cold Springs. They were perfectly fine, just separated, having the distance and having all the safety issues. I wonder why our district didn't take the time to apply for the waiver and have our students learn academics and have fun and continue being interacting with the kids, with other kids, with their peers, with the teachers. And we need also more people, more resources into the classroom. One assistant is not enough. We need more people to help teachers and to interact and know the kids. Thank you so much.
Gabe Escobedo.
We absolutely need to expand summer school opportunities for all of our students. There was a great deal of learning loss there. There's money at the state and federal level for us to do this, and Santa Barbara Unified has already gotten some of this money, but we need to also use it in more creative ways. We need neighborhood tutors. We need mentorship programs. We need to make sure that we're offering programs in the summer that catch a student's eye. We need to destigmatize summer school and make kids want to be there, because we do have some learning loss that we have to recover from. And yes, COVID put it into hyperdrive, but we had some areas of deficiency far before that. We have too many kids that cannot read at their grade level. And I am very concerned about that. One of the ways that we can make some progress is by supplementing our time that they have right now in the classroom with after school programs, summer programming, and this neighborhood tutoring.
And the final candidate, Dan LaBerge.
I'm absolutely in favor of summer school opportunities, as well as extending the school hours for our students. And speaking with Doss Williams, it's his belief that the number one way we can increase achievement outcomes is instructional hours, regardless of what's being taught, which brings me back to programs that engage, things that incite children to want to learn, regardless of the fundamentals. This can be done in a myriad of ways. Perfect example, my son is not strong in mathematics. He got very interested in numbers once he went into woodshop and had to figure out some linear board feet and the cost associated with it. I had an easy parallel, an easy connection, easy conversation. It was an easy way to ramp up. Every child is different. We need to have opportunities for them to find their zeal and their interest so that we can excite them to learn again. Thank you.
Okay. Now we're going to turn to questions that we have received from folks that are watching live, and there's a lot of them, both questions and people. And the first question is going to be for the Santa Barbara Unified candidates, and we'll start with District 1. As you know, there was a lot of controversy about the adoption of teen talk in terms of sex education in 2020 is now being taught in junior high and high schools. As a school board member, would you continue to support that, or would you push to replace it with the HEART curriculum, which many critics have urged the board to adopt as an alternative? And we'll start with Efgenia Banales.
The current curriculum, the Teen Talk, is very explicit. It has caused a lot of anxiety among youngsters and their parents. There's a lot of concern about it. When elected, if I get the honor to get your vote, I will definitely support the HEART curriculum, because it also complies with the CHIA, with CHIA requirement. It is very friendly. It complies with all the ed codes. It's medically accurate. It's age appropriate. It is not offensive like the Teen Talk, which is extremely graphic, extremely specific. There is a book that I saw, and it's not very friendly. There's the teen challenge. It leads you to some sites that are not appropriate. One of them is, what is your sex life? And it takes you to the chatting room. I wonder who is behind those chatting rooms. Thank you.
All right, Gabe Escobedo.
I'm absolutely supportive of Teen Talk. It's comprehensive sex education. It's age appropriate. It teaches our kids everything from anatomy to abstinence to healthy to consent and healthy relationships with their bodies as they're going through one of the most transformative times of their life. So absolutely, I'm 100% in favor of it. I think a lot of the rhetoric that's out there about Teen Talk is misinformation. Just recently, there was someone handing out flyers with candidates' names on them with images that were not a part of the Teen Talk education program. And I absolutely think that this is the right education for our kids. It not only prevents teen pregnancies, but also STIs. And it is the safest thing for us to do for our kids is to provide them with comprehensive sex education.
All right, and Dan LaBerge.
I too am in favor of Teen Talk. We have made a practice in our household of using anatomically correct terms that were age appropriate from a part of our everyday reading. We believe in the science that supports that children that are better educated when it comes to the do's and don'ts and the what's and whatnots are much better at providing for themselves in the future when you're not there to provide guidance and protection. And this applies with all science. We are not in belief of that this is too graphic, unnecessary, or not age appropriate. And the system has already provided that this is an opt-out programming. So it's not something that if it's against somebody's beliefs, ethics, or otherwise, that they cannot choose to, they can choose to remove the child from the program. So it's the right thing for our community. It's the right thing for our children.
Thank you. And in District 4, let's start with Rose Munoz. Rose?
I'm in favor of Teen Talk. I voted for it as part of the Santa Barbara School Board. And the information is very accurate. It's in English and Spanish. And face it, kids are going to be talking about sex and gender, and it's better to have a curriculum about it and be able to ask a teacher questions and have an open discussion. It does also emphasize healthy relationships. It's very inclusive. And I invite the community to review information about Teen Talk. I'm certainly available to everyone and accessible. There are not chat rooms. It's not something that a student would do in the privacy of their home. And I can't say anything more about it. I think it's very good for our students. Thank you.
All right. Phoebe Mansour.
So if I were on the board, I would vote to remove Teen Talk. I don't think it's age appropriate. I think it's difficult enough being a young child, but adding sexualized content on top of everything else that makes it difficult as you're growing up, I don't think that's helpful. I would support the HEART curriculum. And I don't think so the flyer that was mentioned earlier that showed an image of sexual image, that's something that's in the library. And I don't think the library should be carrying any books that has explicit sexual content. And I think those should be removed from the library.
All right, thank you. Lanny?
Good. Okay, this is another question we've received. History is full of great, and this is also just for the Santa Barbara Unified School District. Perhaps I'll have a question for the Goleta School District next. History is full of great thinkers who disagreed, and minds are sharpened by studying two sides of every issue. Do you believe that the 9th grade English class ethnic studies requirement contains the balance of opposing viewpoints necessary for our students to develop critical thinking skills? And we will start with District 4, and with District 1 and Dan LaBerge.
Thank you. I think ethnic studies and exposure to other culture is vital to create perspective and hopefully continue to erode or displace barriers between cultures and races. I don't have that curriculum sitting right in front of me, so I can't say whether it's extensive enough, but it would be my belief that it is not. It should always go farther. It should be inclusive of data-driven history that is supported by peer review, and that our children are exposed to it at young ages and thoroughly throughout their academic career. I am very grateful for the exposure that I got in both the current events class and American history of the American West, taught by professors that were incredibly passionate about it and didn't rely on textbooks to give us some very linear and contrived academic outcome. We really opened our eyes and opened our minds to the possibilities that people saw things differently than we did. Thank you.
Gabe Escobedo.
Our ethnic studies courses are key to building critical thinkers, because this is where we talk about systemic racism, where we talk about globalism, where we talk about the climate crisis that we are under and the reason why we are experiencing this. That is how we get a more fair and accurate perspective of the history of our nation. And having those discussions is not because we dislike the nation that we're a part of. It's because we love our nation and we want it to be better. But the only way that we can be better, the only way that we can do better is by having these discussions, educating our young people so that they enter their conversations, their discussions, their situations far more educated than we were, frankly, and with more perspective and more opportunities to have many of the conversations that built those critical thinkers. I'm absolutely in favor of our ethnic studies curriculum.
Ephigenia Banyalis.
I am in favor of learning universal history. We need to learn about all the cultures in order to understand them. What I have found in this panel, I'm not going to mention them, that they don't know my culture. We study culture, we know your history, we know universal history. And when I looked at the English 9 ethnic studies, there was a book that honestly, when I saw the title, Aristotle and Dante, I thought it was talking about the two philosophers. And I have a little note right here about who Dante Alighieri is. He's an Italian poet, philosopher, a comedian, wrote in vernacular way, which means understandable for everyone, because before it was Latin. And then Aristotle, which is a Greek philosopher, scientist, author of philosophy. This book doesn't talk about that. I'm sorry, but parents complain about it. It's still available in 9th grade. If you haven't read it, it will be taking you aback like it took me. Thank you.
Great, good. And then, I'm sorry, Rose Munoz, have you answered this question yet? I'm sorry, I didn't mark.
I haven't, no.
Okay.
Yes, certainly. Ethnic Studies Now was a student-led movement. I attended the forums that they had at the different high schools. Excellent research that they did on this topic. One of the complaints that we've had ever since I went to college back in the day till not too long ago is that students have to wait to go to college or find out about their own ethnicity on their own, reading books, looking for things in the library, such as, many of us have in the past. I think it's important for students to have a better understanding of their history and what that is. When you learn US history, I think that's fine. However, a lot of us, like myself, we don't see that reflected in there. There's nothing about immigration, about braceros, about slavery, about, et cetera. I could go on. I think that our learning should reflect the diversity and richness of our community. In our community, there's also the Chumash culture, which in 12, 14 years, I never learned about until I was well out of high school. So I do totally support ethnic studies being taught by a teacher with a good curriculum. And I think that it adds to the educational experience of our students.
Phoebe Mansour.
So I'd like to quote Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "Education must enable one to sift and weigh evidence, to discern the true from the false, the real from the unreal, and the facts from fiction." So it's really important that the students need to have education on our history, including ethnic studies. I find it appalling that a young woman that I met had no idea that there had been a World War II, and she had no idea who Adolf Hitler was. And I think that that's shameful that our school system has produced an individual like that. We really need to work harder to make sure that we teach history, including ethnic studies. Thank you.
All right, and now it's kind of a related question that we received that we'll ask the candidates in Goleta. If a parent comes to you directly regarding a textbook or a library book that has quote unquote offensive or questionable content, how would you handle this concern? And we'll start in area 3 with Christy Lozano.
I'm an open door trustee. So any parent that has any concerns about anything can come and talk to me and we can have a conversation about it. If it needs to go to a bigger level where we need to have, you know, a group think tank on it, we can do that. But any issue should be able to be discussed and we should be able to come to a consensus as a majority about the content that our kids are learning in schools. So I have an open door policy anytime to come and talk about any books. I want transparent curriculum. I want parents to be able to see what their kids are learning. And if the parents agree, then it's something that we can talk about putting out there into the schools. But to hide curriculum, that is what I have a problem with.
All right, Emily Zacharias.
Zacharias.
I
It's
keep
okay.
struggling. I apologize.
No worries. Yeah, that's a great question. I think that, you know, I would, as a board member, I would listen to the parent, listen to their concerns. I'd want to see the materials that they're referring to, whether it's curriculum or if it's a book in the library. I think, you know, we trust our teachers and administrators to select the curriculum based on their expertise and based on the list of curriculum that's approved by the state of California education. So yes, I would certainly be all ears to hear it. I'm definitely not for censorship or the banning of books, but I do want to know if it is offensive to people, then I want to hear that. And then obviously discuss it with the cabinet and the other board members to see if this is something we can get an agenda item on and hear from other community members, how they feel about it.
Okay, very good. And in our other Goleta district, let's start with Carolyn Abate.
So if a parent came to me with some curriculum, well, the first thing is I would like to know exactly what's being taught to the students. So I would know, but if they came to me with a book that was not part of the curriculum, already part of the school library, of course, I need to know that and see that and understand the, you know, circumstances of the situation. But as a school board member, it's my job to know exactly what students are being taught, what ideas are I putting into their heads and their hearts and their minds. The heart and mind of a child are very delicate, and we have to be very careful what we teach them. And I think stepping back and looking at that question, you know, how unfortunate is it that we have to worry about the content of what kids are seeing in public schools? Just the fact that we have to ask and answer that question, something is very, very wrong in our schools and it needs to change. That's a big problem. Schools are public places. Public places, just like a park, a shopping mall, a post office, a movie theater, and yet there is content in schools that we could not even show on this Zoom forum because it is that embarrassing, that undignified. So excellent question. A big issue for me as a school board candidate. Let's focus on the academics and take the focus off the inappropriate content in our schools and get our test scores back up where they should be. Lots to say about it. Thank you.
Okay. Richard Mayer.
Yes, as a board member, I am always open to your input and I always respond to any input that I get. if you have a question or an issue, let's say about a book or curriculum, I will work to get you the answer through our administrators and to make sure that your problem gets resolved. And I think my job is to represent all the people in our district. People have different views about what's appropriate and what's not. And in a public education, we need to reach consensus. We have a process in Goleta for adopting curriculum that I think it's important as a board member to make sure we follow that process. It involves a committee of teachers, administrators, and a chance for input from the community and from others. We review the available materials, we pilot test them, then discuss which program is the best one for our students. And then a recommendation comes to the board and the board gets a chance to vote on it. I think process is very important in deciding curriculum.
Thank you. I think this is going to be our final question. This is based on a question that we received from the audience, and it's for the Santa Barbara district candidates. And it has to do with the reading program. And it was originally directed to one candidate, but we're going to open it up to all. And it's that historically, the Santa Barbara district has tended to emphasize different approaches in reading instruction, either a phonics-based approach or a non-phonics-based approach. And currently, the emphasis seems to be more in the direction of a non-phonics-based approach. So the question is, would you support phonics, a greater emphasis on phonics-based reading instruction in the Santa Barbara district? Our first candidate is District 1, Ephigenia Banyalis. Effie? Well, maybe we'll come back there. Okay.
No, I'm here. I'm
okay.
sorry.
Sorry.
I got distracted. Yes, I do support the phonics. Let's bring it back. The system right now is not working. It's broken. Let's bring the Orton-Gillingham approach. It is proven that the children, the earliest that you expose them to phonics, the better off they will be. And by the way, they can learn 2 languages at the same time, even kids with the special needs. That I know for sure, because I've been working in the classroom with kids that have Down syndrome, and that particular child learned 2 languages. Unfortunately, was not sure when she arrived at the high school. The only thing she was pointing was Cheche. And when I went back and I was talking to her in Spanish and English, she was able to flourish. I mean, it was a success for me. I was feeling really bad because she was not speaking, but even though she was a very smart, if a child will expose them at an early age, trust me, you will be amazed.
Davis Escobedo.
Absolutely, I'm in favor of focusing on phonics, especially early. We are all born with the ability to learn how to speak. We're not born with the ability to learn how to read. You have to develop those connections between the audio and visual portions of your brain. And the way that you can do it is by learning the fundamentals of reading. And phonics is building those fundamentals. And once we build those fundamentals and kids learn how to read, we can get them interested in so much amazing literature out there that fits their interest. And once we get them there, it makes it that much easier to keep them invested in school far beyond their early literacy years. And we know that reading below grade level later on creates knock-on effects, even in just self-confidence. I myself had those same types of issues in my classes, but I had people there to help me at the right time. We need to provide that support for all of our students.
Dan LaBerge.
Yes, I'm fully in favor of using phonics as a tool of many in order to support students in need. We have to accept that our students all learn in many different capacities. For my reading, it says that 15% of kids will learn to read no matter how you introduce it to them. But that leaves us with 85% of our children that are clearly suffering. Without literacy as a base pillar of their education, they can't be expected to learn anything else of significance, and it leaves them pigeonholed and behind. Our ESL program is proof of that. We need to use whatever tools are necessary and assessments, including early assessment for dyslexia, in order to ensure children get the early attention they need and the support services they need to become early readers and lifelong readers. Thank you.
Phoebe Mansur.
My mother was a school teacher and she used phonics and she taught me to read when I was 3. So I strongly believe that the value of phonics in teaching reading. And I think we should bring that back and make that a focus. I don't think, and I would like to also share another quote. No matter how busy you think you are, you must find time for reading or surrender yourself to self-chosen ignorance. And that's Confucius. And we've really lost something with these most recent generation of youth in texting, using acronyms. We need to bring reading back and make it a priority.
And final question, answer, Rose Munoz.
Yes, at the Santa Barbara School District, we're using both. Our teachers are our experts, and including our teachers in that conversation, I think are mostly the most important. Using assessments throughout the year helps determine what our kids need and looking at that data. That's what I think is most important. We're also doing dual language immersion, which many students are doing well with. So it's not one size fits all. I myself have 2 kids. One was the phonics learner and the other one was more concrete examples like math, engineering, etc. And so I think that we need to, not decide for all our students, but let the teachers, have a say in that and looking at the best curriculum for the students that we're addressing their needs. If they aren't doing well in the assessments, then what can we do to change that up and help them excel in that? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, we're going to have to leave it there. Lots more we could have covered, but I do think we covered a lot of ground, and I want to really thank all of the candidates for taking the time participating tonight. Carolyn Abate, Richard Mayer, Christy Lozano, Emily Zacharias, Evgenia Benalis, Gabe Escobedo, Dan LaBerge, Rose Munoz, and Phoebe Mansour. Thank you all. Thank you, everyone who's going to watch us, and don't forget to vote. Good night.
Barry.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
guys.
everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.